Good morning. My name's Joel, and today is the 11th. So I'm going to be going over Proverbs 11, verse 3 today. Proverbs 11:3. The integrity of the upright will guide them, but the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. Sorry, I forgot the verse there for a second. The tama, or integrity or innocence, is the refusal to work iniquity and the understanding of the fear of the Lord. And what I mean by the fear of the Lord is understanding that God is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, that he knows all, he's everywhere, and he's all powerful, and that I can't get away with anything. So I refuse to do evil because I know I can't get away with anything. That the only things, like, you can only like think that you get away with stuff. Like if you know those things, you know that, like, your judgment doesn't slumber. You're just storing up judgment when you do those things. And so um, that will cause a man it will cause a man to walk in a right way. Like a fence, it'll guide him in goodness, right? By eliminating evil as a choice, by cutting off choices that are not in line with God's will, right? And by illuminating out of a sense of duty what's right and what's good and what's true. But the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. When we are turned aside after our own pursuits or autonomy, we walk without the light of God's counsel in this world. And autonomy is a Greek word made of two words. It's autonomos, and it means self-law. And it's a attitude that's really prevalent in secular people. Secular people think that, you know, I don't need anybody to tell me what's right. I don't need anybody to tell me what's good. I don't need God to do what's right. And I'll admit I was guilty of this attitude before I knew God, and yet I constantly did things that were wrong and constantly did things that were evil and could justify lying and cheating and stealing and theft and murder and adultery. And I don't literally mean murder, I mean hating in my heart, but you get me. So but the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. When we walk without the light of God's counsel in this world, we stumble through the dark in this world, and we fall not even knowing what made us stumble, right? The Proverbs 4 verse 19 says that the way of the wicked is deep darkness and gloom. They don't even know what makes them stumble. Those situations in life that cause us stress, grief, depression, anxiety, that sort of thing. We don't even know what's causing those things because we're not recognizing the sin in our lives that's leading us to those areas of spiritual and emotional death. Honestly, the only practical application I can draw out of the scripture is not really something that most men can or would even really want to do. It's a gift of God, and that's the fear of the Lord. It's an awareness of his omniscience and omnipresence, and the fact that, as the author of Hebrews puts it in Hebrews 4:13, that nothing in all creation is hidden from God. Everything is naked and exposed before his eyes, and he is the one to whom we are accountable. This understanding is only reached by faith or by conscience. Your conscience will convict you. Before we come to faith, normally our conscience is screaming at us. This is wrong, don't do this. And that's what the word says. The word says that God's given light to every man who comes into this world, that we all know inherently that lying, stealing, adultery, fornication, all that stuff is wrong, that cheating your neighbor is wrong, right? But both of these are a gift of God, right? I can't come to this understanding without God. God is the one who blesses us with these faculties. So I do feel that meditation on God's character can help us to cultivate this in ourselves. and to help us fortify what integrity we do have. And but that's the only application I can get out of the first portion of the integrity of the upright will guide them. Um, Understanding um, the perversity of the unfaithful will destroy them. Verse 19, later on in the same proverb, tells us, "He who pursues evil pursues it to his own death." And this is pretty self evident in our world, especially if you've ever known anybody that's really involved in worldly pursuits. Those people are usually stressed out because they think they're in charge of their lives and they're trying to manage all sorts of things that are outside of their control. They don't have that peace that people who are trusting in the providence of God have. They're depressed because they lack the objects of their desire. They think that those objects are going to fulfill them, and because they don't have it, they're like, life is meaningless. Or upset with the perceived roadblocks, be they people, situations, or otherwise, to getting those desires. Right? These are just a few of the emotional perils that secular people face. Um, if the person that is true, or if that person is truly wicked, if that person is truly wicked, there are actual physical perils they face because crime is inherently unjust and violent. It's a might makes right mentality. It brings with it, physical perils like murder, theft, adultery, rape, etc., that go along with that might makes right mentality. That if I can, I should. If it benefits me, I should. And so those physical perils are, pretty evident. And you see people who, um, are involved in like drug trade. The people who get killed over drug deals gone wrong, people who are murdered, you know, kidnapped, etc. Like those people who are pursuing sin or pursuing it to their own death, not only uh, emotionally and spiritually, but physically. Like crime does not pay. So um, I hope you guys enjoy the day, and God bless.